Hey, good evening. How are you, everyone? It's good to see you and it's good to be seen by you. Welcome to the show. I am glad you're all here. It is a Wednesday night, and as you can see, I, of course, am Bill Sylvie, the one and only the Dungeon Delver. I don't know why. I don't know why my presets keep keep shifting back to gray, but here I am, not gray now. I am Bill Sylvie. I'm glad you're here. Michael Dale, good to see you out there. No matter where you are, welcome to the show. It is Wednesday night, and as you probably guessed by looking at the title and the description, we've got a great show tonight because my co-host with the most, the Thunder from Down Under, Kyle Schuant, will be joining us tonight, and I'm excited about that. So we'll see him here in a little bit. Until then, you're going to have to put up with me. I apologize if things are a little chuggy. I don't know what's going on with the old interweb connection round these parts. It shouldn't be that way, but it is. Robert Phillips, good to see you. Yes, I abide. I do abide. And if you're watching out there, if you're on X or you're watching us over on YouTube, please give us a shout out. And if you haven't already, folks, it would be of great help to me if you would click the subscribe button and the bell icon for notification. Not just about this, no, but about all the shows we do. And I 33K7. See, it's that simple. Retro Wizard. Good to see you. Because you see, we run a pretty damn good show around here. Now, I will tell you that tomorrow night I will not be here. We are not live streaming tomorrow. Dave of Wisconsin, thank you for stopping by and thank you for saying hello. Tomorrow night it is mine and Mrs. the Dungeon Delver's wedding anniversary, so I will be taking tomorrow night off. However, Saturday, this Saturday, uh, wait, do we? No, I don't want to announce that because I'm not sure. But Friday evening, we will be playing some Gamma World. That's right, some classic Gamma World. People will be mutilated. They will be dissolved. They will be irradiated and explodiated and all sorts of other aids there in the far future of Gamma World. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, 33K7. I do appreciate it. I would be happier if my internet connection would settle down a little bit here because I know this has got to be a slideshow for some of you people. Um, but anyhow, so that then is the plan. Is that Friday we're going to be playing some classic Gamma World, and I'm looking forward to it. Doc Flamingo, good to see you. I'm glad you're here. So anyway, so Dave says it seems smooth. It seems jank to me, but I'm glad it's working for you guys. That's what's real important. I'm not sure what Kyle has got in store for us tonight. I don't think we're going to be getting into a let's play this evening, but we can talk about the schedule for that. Let me just double check and make sure he has gotten the info. Let's see. He is prepping now in the back room. I can see our green room, guys. Our green room here is very extensive. Has a lot of facilities. I just saw Kyle head for our massive sauna, shower, therapy room. So he's getting the full treatment back there. He'll be with us here shortly, and as soon as he comes out refreshed and ready, he will be joining us. And I think what's happening, TXG, good to see you. I think what's happening is there's a little bit of buffering, a little bit of throttling going on. I need to get back in the habit of shutting this PC down between live streams and then bringing it back up. Although, if I can be completely honest with you guys for just a second, I am shocked. I am shocked that that the damn thing is still working. So last night I finished up with the show. This chair that I sit in is also the chair over at the editing PC. The editing PC, I game on it. Um, so I get up, I start turning off the lights and everything, the little video games. Which, by the way, in case I've said before, all this stuff is used. I game with this and everything. This height is perfect for me to play Galaga and Pac-Man. So this isn't just like, oh, he's got it up there to look cool. No, 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 no. That is actually the height that I like to play those at. Charles Latora, good to see you. So yeah, I'm shutting stuff off and moving around the studio and everything. Last thing I got to do is get my chair and drag it over. Somehow, in the course of yesterday evening, all of the USB cables that are strung across the floor over here for my soundboard, for my switcher, for my headphones aren't even USB, all got wrapped around the caster of this chair. So I grabbed it, I moved it, and the entire studio went capsized on me. I heard stuff hitting the floor. I'm astounded that anything still works after that I didn't rip a wire out or something. The only casualty was my USB hub, sort of. I have a cable manager on it, one of those cable sorters, and it ripped off the top of the PC case. It holds the USB hub in place, basically, so it doesn't go flying. And the sudden tension made it just pop off. So I'm just glad that you're able to see me and I'm able to see you. And then last night I forgot to plug in my camera batteries. So we're on fortunately that I had second camera battery. But anyway, when has my show not been fraught with technical issues? But anyhow, I hope you guys are all doing swell. And I gotta bring up X here. I gotta do that so I can see you guys, because sometimes I do miss comments. And I gotta bring this over here. Put that there. So all the comments will show up. So I guess I still have Facebook. I don't guess I still have Facebook. I still have Facebook. I still post up stuff to Facebook. That all I do on Facebook now is announce the show, because Facebook is a place that has any value to me is kind of over and done with, if I'm being brutally honest. I like to private message the friends that I have over on Facebook, but I was seeing all these memories from both 2023 and 2018 GaryCon. I guess it's going on right now. So if you're at GaryCon, good for you. I hope you have a lot of fun. If I'm completely wrong about it when it starts, and it starts next week, I apologize. I still hope you have fun. But guess who he came and went. So I guess he's having connection issues too. I was about to bring Kyle on, but hopefully he'll be joining us here in just a minute. At any rate, I've got to close a few apps here. Maybe that will improve the performance. Close all tabs, please. There we go. Maybe we'll get slightly better. We're waiting for Kyle to get synced up to us. And ladies and gentlemen, enough of my babble. He's tanned, he's rested, he's ready. Everybody, please welcome back to the show after a long hiatus. You gotta Oh, Nevi, that's awesome. That's awesome. First of all, thank you for buying some merch. Second of all, if anyone else would like to buy merch, there's a link in the description below. Mugs, t-shirts, all kinds of stuff. Art by Tracy Lesh. Please welcome my host from the Antepodean lands. I said to him, "Do you speak my language?" Well, he just smiled and gave me a Vegemite sandwich. Everybody, welcome Kyle Schuant. Kyle,
Hi,
how are you,
boys and
brother?
girls. Sorry, I've been in such a rush this morning. I forgot to put my t-shirt on. My Dungeon Delver t-shirt.
We will forgive you, Kyle. We will definitely forgive. How have you
Out of
been, my
uniform.
friend?
Tired. Been going hard with all the gym stuff. So
I was going to say, no wonder you're tired. You got all that heavy stuff behind you.
Well, no, I wasn't lifting it here. This is left over from the guys last time.
Right on.
No, I have a trainer at the moment, and he tells me what to do, and that involves lifting some heavy weights and going for a run afterwards. And it's the run afterwards that takes more out of me than anything.
Oh,
you lift I lift things up and I put them down, and you put them down, you sit down for 5 minutes, and that's all right. If you have to go for a jog or something, that takes it out of you.
Oof. So yeah, I can imagine. So I mean, I guess
it's easier to build strength and constitution.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. Zach, I'm not sure who your question was directed at. Zach, right out of the gate with a question. Are you a Wheel of Time? Kyle, have you read the Robert Jordan Wheel of Time books?
I started on it, but I found that it was very much like a wheel. It just kept going round and round and round and round. And yeah.
Now
I like a resolution. I like the old Conan stories, because there's like 12 pages or whatever, and he cuts somebody's head off, and then that's the story.
Yeah. Exactly. I chased the frost giant's daughter. I killed her brothers. I had sex with her. The end. I mean, do you need more than that? Ardu RPG, good to see you. But I actually played in a fairly, well, at the time it didn't feel like a long haul, but I guess by modern standards it's a long haul. We played a Wheel of Time campaign with a Wheel of Time D20 system way back in 2002. My wife and I and 4 or 5 friends did. And we played that for 9 months. We played that exactly for my wife's pregnancy with our first kid. So when daughter number 1 finished cooking, we stopped playing. The little bit I got to know the story, it was okay.
Daughter number 1 should be a RPG fan hugely then, because there's that theory that the music that the mother listens to while the baby's in the womb is the music that the baby will like when they grow up, or the food that she eats or avoids, the baby will as well. So if she was gaming while she was pregnant, you should have a mad gamer.
She actually plays in the Monday night AD&D game with us.
Oh, good.
I lured her in, and so Tuesday, I just said Monday night, we played that famous module, G2, Glacial Rift of the Frost Giant Jarl. We've been playing in that one for a while. We're doing the whole GDQ series, and she was the one that put paid to one of the 2 white dragons. She hit it with a cloud of magic missiles, and that was all it wrote. It collapsed to the floor. So she was the hero of the moment. The other one was not much longer for this world, despite going into a rage at having lost its mate. So she does game with us. She likes a little bit more character development. I guess Kyle, you'd say she was Thespy. Maybe I've kind of.
It's all relative.
She likes a little bit more NPC PC interaction stuff. But bless her heart, she's been gaming with us for months now, and she enjoys it enough to have done fan art of my game, so I'm pretty happy about that.
That's good.
Rabbit, yeah, you saw the write-up I did on Twitter about that. Let's see. An art notebook? Of whose art? Or did you just mean like, oh, you mean like a notebook with the Dungeon Delvers cover art on it that you can then do art inside? Because yeah, I can do that. I can literally
Maybe like a
just
notepad, like people used to have like the family crest
yeah,
up in the
something
top
like that.
corner,
I
or the
could
business
definitely do.
one, business letterhead.
Yeah. David Wisconsin says that was my group too. 3 girls did the role playing, the 3 guys did the fighting. I've got 10 people nominally that play on Monday, so it's actually fairly evenly spread out who does what. Um, like Aurora, I know Kyle, you know Aurora.
Mm.
The three of us have a game together before. Aurora
Yep.
is very much a skull cracker and a role player, so she kind of divides things evenly. Or a notebook with a dungeon delver. Or I tell you, Misspell of Games, you have asked. I will check out Spring tonight after the show, and I will see if I can do that, and then I will let you know. Vinny Finnegan, how are you? Um, so, speaking of playing, Kyle, people have been asking me this, and there's no pressure on you about this because I know how things go. Um, are we going to see a return to Kyle at the helm of game mastering?
I think we can do that in a couple of weeks. Yes.
Okay, great.
Not next Thursday. Half my family, the girls, are going away overseas,
Mhm.
so be busy with that day. But the following, yeah, or your Wednesday rather, yeah, your
Right.
Wednesday,
Right. Okay.
my
So,
Thursday.
2 weeks from now, we will be returning to flight with Kyle at the controls, and who
Hmm.
knows where we're going to go.
And
I'm looking
speaking
for.
of trips, I'm a big believer in peer pressure, dear audience.
Uh oh.
So I had already invited Bill to come while my wife and youngest were away because we'd have a spare room, and I'd invite him to come along and be here for 2 or 3 weeks, and I was going to pay to fly him over and everything, but he didn't get himself organised in time, and so there's a second opportunity in September, and then we could
Yes,
have not LARPing, but live. It would be live action role playing. It would be in person. We would both stream. Bill would have a special Down Under edition.
that's right.
So I
I'd
want
have
to
to.
encourage the peer pressure for everyone to nag him to get his passport and get his shit together and all the rest. And
Yes,
then we can fly him down here for a special appearance.
absolutely, absolutely, Kyle. I am looking forward to it. I will bring a mount so my laptop I can turn it upside down so it'll be right side up when I'm
Good,
there,
good.
so the picture will be correct. Down Under Edition or one unsub. Well, I can't lose viewers, so I will do that. That will happen. I got a couple things going on between now and September. Nothing that will stop me from doing the things I need to do, including getting my passport in order. Um, at this point, look, this is the closest I'm going to come to a political comment ever on my live stream. At this point, the State Department's going to be like 2 people, so hey, I'm gonna have to get on the stick and get my passport forms filed.
That's why I was encouraging. No,
Yes,
it'll take time.
I will. Yes, it will take time. I will get it sorted, and I will be on a plane one fine humid day and fly the 25 hours it's going to take me to get to you. You
Might
better
be
fly
something
me
like
on.
that.
You
It
better
was
fly me on Emirates Air, Kyle, so I can have that room. I can have that stateroom on an A380.
I think when I went to Wichita Falls, it was a direct flight to Dallas Fort Worth. I think that was 17 or 18 hours. That was
Uh-huh.
pretty hellacious. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
pretty,
So
yeah.
so
For me,
basically
what
I'm
gets me is the sound of the engines up for 18 hours.
yeah, I'm
That's
gonna
what
hear
does
that
my
for
head
like the
in.
first 3 days that I'm here. Or there rather. And when I get back here, it's just gonna be like I'm gonna hear that in my sleep. But yeah, so basically I mean we can figure it out. Mrs. the Dungeon Delver works in travel, so she can absolutely help you uh figure out like cheap or flights and routes and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's gonna be Florida to somewhere in the Midwest to Los Angeles to possibly Japan and then Australia, or possibly Hawaii and then Australia. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, if I started
Now there's direct
walking,
flight. There's actually direct Orlando Melbourne flights.
no way. Oh, that's
Yeah.
that's going to be brutal. I'm looking forward to it. But that is that's fantastic, and I am looking forward to it. But anyhow, so
They've got
we're
connecting ones.
I'm
They
sorry.
got connecting ones. You don't want the connecting ones. There's connecting one. Total flight time. American Jetstar, 30 hours, 43 minutes, 2 stops.
Ooh,
Don't want that.
that's
They got average
days
emissions.
plural. That is like days. That's
They got average emissions and stuff. Like, who cares about that? If you're flying, you obviously don't care about emissions.
yeah. I
I'm
don't
sure
want
I
to do
saw direct
something.
ones when I looked it up. When I
I
looked
don't
it
want
up,
to do
I'm sure I
something
saw.
I really enjoy for 30 hours. Hey,
What
Bill,
about the
you want to
24-hour? What about the 24-hour gaming stream you did?
No, that was only 12 hours, and that
Oh, okay.
I could get up and walk and walk out of here. All right, I wasn't crammed between like a web developer and a stepmom and her kid. Um,
Oh, there's a
but
connecting one. Dallas Fort Worth. What's B and E? What location is that? Anyway, and that's 2 stops. There's a total of 41 hours, 45, 51 minutes. But there must be a layover somewhere. Yeah, it's pretty vicious.
Yeah, I'll need a spatula and a marker for the trip. You'll explain that. Fair enough. You'll have to tell me that joke where what that's about. Um,
Even first class would be horrible. I have done not first class, but I have done business class. I got upgraded once, and yeah, you're less cramped, but that's about it, really. You're less cramped, and the food's just slightly better, but that's about it. It's still fundamentally flying is a horrible experience.
yes, yes, and I've talked about this on the show before, and there was just some point. It's gone through evolutions, so you know it started out as you're basically they figured out how to make tractors arc through the air and not fall to the ground to everyone's death. So you were basically in a tin metal can rattling around from like the late 1930s to the early 1950s. And then they said, if we pressurize the inside of these things and put couches in here and put jet engines under them, we can make this really comfortable for people. So you had from the 1950s some particular political actions in the 60s and 70s aside until like the mid to late 90s really it was a fairly pleasant experience, and then certain political activities happened and now they're just like, look, you better be lucky we don't just decide to dump you out over the ocean.
Well, I mean, that aside, that it's just because so many people fly, it's always late and unreliable, and
Yeah.
flights cancelled and all the rest.
The last good flight, not trip experience, the last good flight that I had was a red eye from Seattle to Houston. Houston was my connector. Because the Seattle to Houston, it left at like midnight or 1 a.m. when we left Seattle. It was a 737 or something, and there were like 40 people on a plane meant for 170, and the stewardess were just like, yeah, just once we're in the air and the seatbelt sign goes off, go wherever, take any seat on the plane you want to. We don't care. If you're going to move into the emergency row seat, let us know and we will give you a full safety brief. In fact, if anyone is not sitting there and you want to come up and say, they were very blasé about it. And I said, hey, can I go to the row in front of me because there's nobody there, flip up all the seat arms and lay down on the 3 seats and sleep on the way to Houston? And she was like, Absolutely. I'll get you some more pillows and blankets. Just make sure there's a
Hmm.
seat belt around your waist. Yeah, and that's
Hmm.
what I did. Unfortunately, because I did that, I missed the captain saying that the connecting flight to passengers on that plane to Orlando was not at the gate that I thought it would be. So I almost missed my connector. That I had to run, I had to run back to like miles. If anyone here has ever been through Houston, you know it's a big cross. I had to go from this one to the middle and make a left and go halfway up the other one. So
I saw a little clip the other day. I can't remember which. I think it was an American airport, but people were complaining about how long it took the luggage to come off their plane.
mhm.
They were having to wait around for 20 or 30 minutes. So what they did was that they changed they figured out the best way to handle this. They couldn't make the baggage processing any faster. So they found the best way to handle it was your plane lands over at this gate or parks at this gate, and your luggage will come out over here. So instead of spending 20 to 30 minutes standing around looking at the baggage carousel impatiently, people were spending 20 or 30 minutes walking across the airport, and all the complaints disappeared.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I love it. I yeah, so who knows, Kyle? Maybe if the flight's long enough, I'll strike up a friendship and run a D&D game. I cannot imagine that I would be the first person ever to play any tabletop RPG. There has to have been a couple of nerds, a few nerds that have been going to forget Gen Con, just at grandma's house. We're in Maine.
Well, I
She's
did a
in.
when I was, I guess, 13 years old. I did a solo dungeon on the way to Argentina. So
There you go.
I took my D&D books with me. I was rolling it up.
There you go.
I don't know how long the flight was. Must have been 12 hours or something.
The first time we went to Wisconsin, which was in spring of 2006, I had signed up to run an OD&D game at the Lake Geneva Gaming Convention. It was Gary was still around, but the Trollord Games had a little mini convention up there just so Gary could go to a convention and people wouldn't hassle him. Oh, are you going to go to Gen Con? Are you going to go to this con? Are you going to go? Say, no, I'm going to this con because it was literally like a street over from his house. And the Trollord guys did that, which I thought was just fab. And we made it up there one year, and I, uh, I did my write up for the game on the plane, that like 90-minute jaunt from Orlando to I think we left out of Tampa. I don't remember, from Florida to Chicago to then drive up to Lake Geneva. So yeah, I have at least done some OD&D stuff or D&D stuff by myself on an airplane, and I like that idea. I may have to do that. Maybe I'll publish PA1 plane to Australia with whatever I create while I'm on the plane. Jorge asks, Kyle, did you take the flight that goes over Antarctica to Argentina?
I'm not sure. Probably because that's just the way the Earth curves. I'm not sure because, like I said, I was about 13 at the time. My mother was a single mother. She had this Argentinian boyfriend of Italian heritage, and he went back and visited. And it was the first direct Australia to Argentina flight there had been since the Falklands War. So Australia wasn't involved in the Falklands War, but in fact, there was an old British aircraft carrier that we were going to buy to replace one of ours that hadn't worked for 10 years, like hadn't been able to launch aircraft. We're still going around. We were going to buy this old British one because the British decided that they didn't need them anymore. What kind of conflict would require us to use aircraft carriers?
Whoops.
And then they had the Falklands War, so they were using it there, and then they decided to keep it and not sell it to us, and we just didn't get one. But yeah, it was the first direct flight from Australia to Argentina since the Falklands War. And I remember distinctly the passengers. That's the word. The passengers applauding when we landed. But people used to do that. They used to applaud when you landed after a long trip and stuff. Yeah, I was musing on that the other day, like when I saw the Top Gun movie last year,
Mm-hmm.
and the audience was nice and quiet, and I just remember seeing it originally. I mean, I did see it in Indiana in 1986, in the years of Reagan and that. So it was very patriotic years in the US. But there was like cheering when he shot down the Libyan aircraft, and it was also the time of whichever Rocky one was, when he fights the Russian, and
It was
even
4.
here in Australia, people were going Rocky, Rocky during the movie.
we used we used
So
to have
people really did laugh out loud, and did applaud when aircraft landed and that. So I was just thinking it probably would have been easier to get a D&D game going on a plane in the 80s than it is nowadays. Nowadays, everyone's just like on the flight going
yeah,
the whole time.
yeah, they're on Wi-Fi till the Stu tells them to put the phones, put your phones on plane mode, then you get in the air, and then they give you the Wi-Fi password, and then they're back on their phones again, right?
Yeah.
I saw we used to have a big naval training center here in Orlando. It was actually the biggest in the country, which makes sense. We're 15 miles or rather 45 miles from the ocean, and they then closed it in 1992 and opened one up in the Midwest, which makes perfect sense. I'll let other people puzzle that out, but yeah, the NTC. And in 1989, my dad and I went to see The Hunt for Red October. And we saw it at a theater on the side of town. It was the week it came out. It was on the side of town where the Navy base was. And we had really terrible seats because the theater was packed side to side, front to back, with Navy guys. It was all Navy guys. And I mean, these guys cheered and yelled and stomped their feet throughout the movie. It was an experience just seeing it in the theater with 298 naval ratings. As much as seeing the movie on the big screen was, the Dallas stalking the Red October and cruise missiles flying and stuff like that, and it was like being at an Elvis concert in 1975. They were just people. It was an experience, and you're right. People used to cheer and applaud and so on airplanes.
I've been to comedy movies, and I'm the only one laughing. People are just more restrained now.
Yeah, we still get a lot of cheers. Like we saw the last Avengers movie, and when Thanos punched Captain Marvel, Brie Larson, the theater went nuts. People were cheering that. People enjoyed seeing that, but the last time I heard like cheers and applause on an airplane, I think it was again one of our Wisconsin trips, early mid 2000s. We had a few guys in uniform, and they got first class seats. And when the steward came out, the flight attendant, I guess is the PC term nowadays, the flight attendant came on, and he gave the usual spiel and then said, also, folks, very much I would like to direct your attention to the front of the plane in our business class section. We have some very special passengers with us today. We have and he just gave their first names. I guess a little bit of OPSEC, but then they've got their last names on their breast pocket, don't they? So Sergeant Bill, Major Mike, and Corporal Jones of the United States Air Force, United States Army, and the plane went nuts. People were clapping and cheering and so on and et cetera. A couple of people offered to buy them drinks, but they were already getting comped drinks because they were in the business class section, which was on that size plane was a first class. Kyle, over to you. I got to step away for just a second, okay?
Okay. Well, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. Questions? Questions from the audience, and then I'll have something to say. Movies just suck now. A guy making Star Wars shorts in the Unreal Engine makes far better skits. I don't know if movies in general suck, but I'm a big believer in small budget. Bill and I have discussed this before. Rather than one $200 million movie, I'd rather see people making $102 million movies. Because there's a hell of a lot. If you look at YouTube and look up fan films and stuff, there's a hell of a lot of really good ideas out there. And what they do with a small budget is quite remarkable. There was a guy, he's a bit of a sort of a lefty, greeny icon, but we like him anyway. Jorge something, the mayor of Curitiba, and he said, if you want creativity, slash a zero off the budget, and if you want sustainability, slash two. Constraints make you more interesting. That's why, like when I wrote Conflict, I deliberately made it just 48 pages, so that it would be more creative and more useful that way. I didn't blather on, and in the end, it was a struggle to fill 48 pages. So I think the same is true of movies. I think they've just got too much money, and it makes them less creative, and it's understandable because if you're spending $200 million making a movie, you don't dare be creative and original in case it flops. Whereas if you just do yet another reboot or a sequel or something like that, okay, maybe it won't be a great hit, but it won't be a dismal failure either. It's kind of the safe bet. So, small budgets are good. And so that's probably why the guy making Star Wars shorts in the Unreal Engine makes better skits, because he doesn't have much money.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And I see, like, quite frankly, the disingenuous and counter argument is, yeah, but when you make small, or when you make original movies, they end up sucking and nobody wants to see them, and it's the continuity that people. And I would counter that with saying, when you make small independent, or rather when you make independent new concept movies and you give the directors too much money, you wind up with yes, the movie bombs, but it is a much more noticeable bomb. So you have that was it Jupiter Ascendant? You had was that Luc Besson film, Somebody Somewhere in the City of a Thousand Universes or something like
Oh
that?
yeah. And there was that J-Lo one where I don't even know what the hell it is. She's going around in a battle mech or something.
Yeah,
Uh,
I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember anything.
Atlas
Atlas,
something.
Atlas, yeah. You pour $500 million into a movie that really, if they want like instant, the studios want instant gratification. It's like, okay, well, our budget is I'm thinking the budget for this movie, Space Dungeon, is going to be really about $5 million. 5 million, hell, son, I like the idea. Here's 250 million, and now you can hire Ben Affleck and Harrison Ford and Britney Spears and Taylor Swift to be in it. And at that point, once the money starts flowing, the people who gave it to you want to make sure it's safe, so they come in and start undercutting your ideas, and the simple little sci-fi rom-com fantasy drama ideas that you had are buried.
Yeah.
And then the thing bombs, but then they shift all the blame back to you for making a bad movie. And you
But
know,
even if it doesn't bomb, it's just sort of more interesting to have, um, dare I use the word, diversity. It's kind of like if you want to open a restaurant, um, if you go and get a McDonald's franchise, you know that it's going to be successful. You may or may not get rich out of it, but you know it's going to be at least moderately successful.
yeah,
If you want to open your own restaurant, well, something like 90% of them fail in 18 months.
yeah. Hang on a second,
But
Kyle. Continue. I'll be right back.
yeah, but if you want really good food, you don't go to a McDonald's, you go to one of those small restaurants. And it might be really terrible, and most of them really terrible, but some of them will be really good. So just having a small budget, being that small place, it allows you to be a bit original. I mean, that's the basis of my own little business, which has never been big, but it makes me a living, and you know, I can do some good things with a few good people, and that's the same thing with gaming, I believe. You know, you can go for the big games, whichever is most popular at the moment, D&D fifth edition or sixth or whatever it is up to now, or you can go with the old family restaurant edition, AD&D, or you can try one of the smaller little games out there, one of the original little restaurants. Yet they refuse to make Dread 2, says Michael. Do they need to make Dread 1? I don't know. It was pretty silly. Wasn't it supposed to be silly? Both of them. I mean, you know, the Sly Stallone one and that other guy. I didn't see the one with the other guy.
All right, I'm back again. Sorry about that, guys.
There's a lack of imagination in movies, too many reboots, remakes. Why are there so few new stories? No, I don't think there's so few new stories. I just think a lot of people, they're not getting a chance because, as I said, I mean, if you're sitting there with your $200 million budget to make a movie, you don't want to take any risks. You don't want to do any new stories. It's going to be really hard to make it happen, to persuade the people spending all that money to make it happen. Whereas if it's just a $2 million thing, you know, I mean, that's where, like, to their credit, places like Netflix and that I think have done quite well, and they're pulling TV series and movies from around the world and throwing a few $1 million here, a few $1 million there, and some interesting stuff's coming up. And I think it's also good because, you know, 100 $2 million movies employ more people than a single $200 million movie does, more people per dollar. So it gives a chance for, you know, your apprentice cameraman or whatever. I don't know what system they have for developing camera people, but your apprentice cameraman or the guy who holds the mic or whatever, those people at the low level, more of them get employment and more of them get to show their excellence. You know, if 1 in 10 or whatever are really good at their job, well, if you employ 100 of them over time, then you'll find 10 really good ones, and you can take those 10 really good ones and stick them on the $200 billion movie and get a really magnificent production. Whereas if you just have the big budget ones, then you're just rolling the dice each time to see if you get a good person or not.
Yeah. By the way, I have been asked, Kyle, to explain to you why you should watch Dredd. Dredd doesn't remove his helmet. He frowns constantly. He is always Judge Joe Dredd. If that doesn't sell you on it, I can't help you. He is always Judge Joe Dredd. He stepped right out of 2000 AD. All right. It is proper Judge Dredd. I do recommend it.
Okay. Well, I just
Okay,
thought
so
that removing his helmet thing, I started watching the Halo telly series and I stopped after a bit. Not because he took his helmet off. I don't know. It just didn't engage me for some reason.
yeah. So let me
But I never played the game either.
since we're going down this road. Yeah, I didn't see anybody throwing a plasma grenade onto anyone's head or Nards in the entire bit of it I showed. So that's not the game Halo that I knew at all. All right, so let me pitch a movie to you, Kyle. I'm going to pitch a film to you. Okay, so I've watched a lot of cowboy movies. I've watched a lot of Errol Flynn, a little bit of Buck Rogers, a lot of World War II movies, some Japanese samurai films. It's a brand new property, but all I want to make it is around $45 million. And I think we can, at the very least, break even on the TV rights. But I think it's a good story to be told. It's the old Saturday afternoon movie serials crammed into a 2-hour space fantasy adventure. Sound good to you? Sound like something you'd like to see?
I don't know. Maybe.
You're gonna lend me the let's call it $50 million to make it, Kyle?
I want more details for $50 million.
Okay. Well, so there's this kid, and he lives out in the desert, and he gets this message that he's got to go save a princess. She's trapped in this space station that can blow up whole planets, and he meets
yeah, you can have 2 million. You can have 2 million. Be creative.
I can have 2 million. Okay.
Yeah. And be creative, and
All right. I don't know. Could you do you think
just use plastic models or something, and that should do it.
Yeah. I got a whole bunch of guys in my studio. We're just gonna drag together a bunch of model airplanes and some people that are good with glass paintings and such. By the way, can I have the toy rights? I know that's like nothing to you guys here. Can
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. The point is, Star Wars cost in today's money $45 million. That is literally art house film budget. That gets you nothing in movies today. That's like craft service costs for an Avengers movie is 45 million for like Mark Ruffalo's therapist and his vegan craft services is what $45 million covers you. And yet Star Wars was only $11 million to make in 1976.
Yeah.
And that's what that is today. That's equivalent of about $45 to $58 million today. And we got, regardless of what people might think, when people say Star Wars is dead, give up on Star Wars, I get it. Okay. But if you want to talk about Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, I'd say the ROI was pretty damn good. I'd say yes, Hidden Fortress, some Hidden Fortress thrown in there too. So yeah, I think I'm in 100% agreement with you, Kyle. I think 100 $2 million movies instead of one $200 million movie, because at least then you've got 100 new ideas versus one idea. If it bombs, it takes down the careers, the studios.
Yeah.
Of a whole bunch of people. I mean, 100 chances to break big. How is that not a good gamble?
Yeah. I agree.
It's like if you go.
So since we're talking about Star Wars, Bill knows, but you guys won't. So a couple of weeks ago, there was a Star Wars, not merch, but the fans had made stuff. It's the largest private fan collection in the world. It was here in Melbourne. And so we went to see that, me and the kids. So I'll scroll down some of those images. Let's see if I can.
Oh yeah, this is good stuff.
The fans strike back. There's my teenage boy looking sulky. But anyway. So there they are in front of the Darth Vader. No, that came up blurry. There we go. So that was a Darth Vader figurine. There's all sorts here. My son took zillions of. I had to wait outside for about 15 minutes because my son was taking photos of everything from every angle. So this is a life size dude.
And this is every bit of this was created by fans, not by the studio.
That's right.
Bought props or anything.
Right. That's right. It's all done by fans. So there's like small figurines, there's human-sized figurines, all these helmets. I want one of those for a bicycle helmet.
Right. I actually have the Dawn Post Luke Skywalker X-wing helmet. I've showed it on the show before. No, I'm not going to get it right down now, guys. It's a plastic hassle to get down. But the box says on it very clearly, "This is not a safety helmet. Do not wear as a motorcycle or bicycle helmet. Do not wear as a safety helmet." And you can tell it is pretty flimsy. But yeah,
So I'm
I
just scrolling through. Anyone, tell me if anyone speaks up and wants to have a closer look at one of the photos. I'm just
yeah, for
scrolling through to
sure.
give you the idea. But yeah, it's called the Fan Strike Back, one of the largest private collections in the world, apparently. So there's like one geek who owns all this crap. I presume they didn't create it all themselves. If they did, they've obviously got an independent source of income, because it would just take you your whole life to make all this stuff.
Well,
Anyone
nowadays
who'd
with
made
good.
any one of these things would be proud of themselves normally. But
I mean, nowadays with a 3D printer, you can knock this stuff out in a weekend. The painting is a little bit of a hassle, but this stuff all looks very well crafted.
I don't know why he has a witch's hat. But anyway,
Eh, who knows?
sand people easily startled. But, yeah, some of the stuff I don't recognize. It must be from later series. That was pretty cool. The TIE fighter pilot.
Yeah, the TIE
The elite
fighter
one.
pilot uniforms were pretty rad. Doc Flamingo said the Canon Films model, which I guess is reference to the 100 films for $2 million. It's not a bad model. I just ask that if your hypothetical studio happens like that. So Canon Films was owned by
We're trying more the grape shot approach to Canon films.
yeah. But Canon Films, of course,
Oh, there goes Boba Fett
Golan
being eaten up.
Globus was the brother the team of brothers who ran Canon Films, and for some reason that literally just defies my level my ability to understand. So Superman and Superman 2 for their time were really successful movies. And I got to hand it to Richard Donner being told he wasn't going to get a sequel. So he shot enough footage in Superman to make an entire second Superman movie out of. That was freaking brilliant. And then
The
they said,
fans strike back Australia. I like this warning sign. Both the Rebellion and the Empire request that you respect the creators of this amazing exhibition by not touching the displays and staying out of the scenes. Galaxy items are very fragile and precious to their creators. Thank you, FSB. Entire exhibition is under constant video surveillance and the constant secret vigil of the Ewoks.
Oh no. Well, we saw what they could do to even a Scout Walker, so yeah. But yeah, the good folks at Golan Globus.
That was a person-sized land speeder.
Oh no way! That is awesome.
Like it would be physically large enough to get in.
Oh, that's sweet. But
sorry, go on.
The lads, for some reason, after Superman,
see the little sign. A little sign next to Yoda.
I can't quite make it out.
Beware of the dark side, you must. He just plants this sign in his jungle.
So they had Superman, Superman 2, Superman 3, and for reasons that literally to this day elude me, I could probably find out on the web. The De Laurentiis company gave the film production job.
She's been the stern emperor.
Gave the it fits. Gave the production job to Canon Films and the budget.
Do you think the emperor ever napped on his? I mean, he was pretty old, so he probably napped on his throne.
sitting there having hateful dreams. Um, not Lily.
Oh, and there was a whole exhibition of like the Lego stuff. People doing Lego figurines of it. I didn't catch them. And then, of course, they had the arcade games.
Nice. So they
They were
gave the
$2
money.
a pop or something, but
They gave the money to Canon Films. Canon Films then took the money. They made a Superman movie for like $8 million and spent the other 32 million on like 9 schlock films. And what that meant was that Superman ended up looking like garbage. People expected a blockbuster fourth Superman movie. And I mean, they paid Christopher Reeve. They barely paid anyone else. That's why you see Gene Hackman literally kind of standing in the background a lot of the time. But they made an $8 million Superman movie and split the rest of the money out amongst their other projects. So if we're gonna do the small film scattershot approach, let's not do that. let's not do that.
Yeah, but I think no one should be afraid of just trying unusual ideas in a world where Sharknado was not only made, but spawned like 6 sequels and 3 spin-offs.
Yeah. Sharknado versus Mega Crab. For God's sake, yes, your fantasy movie can be made. I mean, I can't remember
there's like Sharknado 2, the second one, Sharknado 3, oh hell no, Sharknado, the fourth Awakens, Sharknado 5, Global Swarming, and the last Sharknado, It's About Time, which involves them traveling through time and flying a pterodactyl as well as 3 spin-off films, Lavalantula, Sharknado, Heart of Sharkness, and To Lava, To Lantula. So this is a world in which this was made, and like it ends up being a total of 10 movies. So what the hell? And people love it. So what the hell? Give it a go. And certainly, as a dungeon master, don't be afraid to have a cheesy, silly plot and cheesy, over-the-top villains and everything. Because if you can have like flying sharks, then why not?
Yeah, I mean, as bad of a movie as it is, the 2000 Dungeons and Dragons movie, let's face it, our villains as DMs are no better than Damodar. We all think we run Sauron or Darth Vader or Thulsa Doom. Guys, our villains are Damodar from the 2000 Dungeons and Dragons movie, and don't you think better of yourselves? Now, I just linked to this. George Lucas heard that his one of his production guys, Roger Christian, had an idea for a movie called Black Angel, and he brought him in and he said, "Well, tell me about it." And he explained that it was a fantasy movie set in mythic England about a knight who comes home and finds out that there's a plague that has ravaged his kingdom and what he does to save people. Mm-hmm. And he read it out to me and he said, I think that's a really good idea. The English movie-going experience is that they like short featurettes before. So I will give you $50,000 to film it. Do you need any more? And he said, no, I think we can do it for $50,000. Guys, if you haven't seen Black Angel, it's on YouTube. Go watch it. It is absolutely a phenomenal way to spend a half an hour. It is a fantastic D&D fantasy movie. And it cost $50,000 in 1980 money to make. And honestly, no, I don't want to see a reboot. I don't want a Netflix series. I don't want a 2.5 hour version with Viggo Mortensen and $100 million CGI budget. Go watch it and enjoy it because it is Amazing filmmaking, and it's $50,000. $50,000 won't even get him to, won't even pay for a guy to come and unlock a sound stage in Hollywood these days. Yes, Jorge. Just you know what? Let me. I will bring that up, and I will share that link with you. Let's see. YouTube. Yeah, right here. And it's been kicking around for a long time. There's the link in the chat. And don't leave the live stream to go watch it, but do go check that out. And I think you will find a phenomenal little fantasy movie. And in case anyone's wondering, yes, I have run a D&D adventure based on Black Angel. So, it's really good, and it's proof positive that you can be high concept and low minded hack, or in the case of this, high concept and low budget, and still produce a great movie. Kyle, what was that movie you linked to me about the woman who starts praying when there's some knights about to attack her?
Oh, Night of Hope.
Night of Hope. That's another one that, I mean, Night of Hope so looks like it was made for about $200.
Yeah. So Night of Hope. So that one was made by a bunch of guys who do, what do you call it? The modern version of a European weapon handling, European martial arts. Yeah. Oh, you found the Night of Hope?
Yeah. I got the link to it.
Yeah, there. Yeah. So that was very good. And it's a great illustration of basically like a third level fighter. What a third level fighter in plate mail can do to a bunch of 0 level men at arms or bandits, mostly 0 level, and he just rips through them.
3 attacks a round.
Yeah.
He absolutely G's them up, but
and they can't do much to him because he's in plate mail, so they're going clink, clink, yeah. And a lot of they're standing back, going, "Oh God," because like maybe if we all rush in at once, we can get him, but somebody will get a sword through them. I hope it's not me. You first. So yeah, it makes you understand the fear effect of dragons, for example. Most people just like, no. Yeah, it's a very good little clip. And it's just these guys doing their medieval reenactment stuff and dressed up in their mail and got their weapons and that.
For those who might be curious, in case you're wondering here, a 0 level fighting man has 1 to 7 hit points. So that puts them at up to 1-1 hit dice. Let me share this on the screen real quick. I know most of us are down with AD&D, but some of you folks might be new to it. And I got to make sure that actually showed up on the screen, because I have been having problems lately with things showing up properly on the screen. There, okay. And it happened to a lot of other people in StreamYard too, so it wasn't a local problem. So here we go. Up to 1-1. Our fighter, as Kyle notes, is wearing plate mail. Now, plate and shield is armor class 2. The way this guy moves, I think he's got a dex bonus happening.
So he doesn't have a shield. He doesn't have a shield. So
he doesn't.
Yeah, you call him armor class 1 or 2.
Yeah, armor class 1 or 2. So how many guys are fighting him, Kyle? Was it 5?
No, it ends up being about a dozen, but they don't all come at once.
They don't all rush him at once. So these guys, let's assume for a minute, because, well, I mean, she does pray, so that the guy's a paladin. Maybe he's got a protection from evil going on. So they're at -2. So that's anywhere from -1 to armor class 2 they have to hit. If he's -1, they need 2 repeating 20s. That's a natural 20 plus any strength or magic item bonus. And I don't think these guys have got that going on at all. So, yeah, they're pretty much toast. And our third level guy is attacking 3 of them around. So even if he's not that high level, he's going to be disposing of them pretty handily one at a time. Like Kramer versus the small kids at karate class. Yeah, Rory, exactly like that. I don't know. Did you ever see that bit in Seinfeld, Kyle?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kramer gets a black belt in like a junior karate class, and he's beating everyone's ass because they're like 8.
Yeah. Perhaps he identifies as an 8-year-old.
I don't know. But anyway, yeah. So whether you like it for D&D or whether you like it for just being a good, an enjoyable film that didn't cost an arm and a leg, no pun intended, to make. Somebody upstream also mentioned Astartes, which is. Oh, thank you for chiming in from over in Twitter land there, Ardu. Good to see you over there. Someone mentioned Astartes.
So great illustration. The moment when he first confronts the bandits. Okay, so here he is.
Mute it because we. Oh, you've got a screen grab. Okay.
Yeah. So there he is. He rocks up, and then the camera turns around, and it shows. Yeah, where are we? Their response, which is, oh, we thought we were just chasing the small female, and now you're here. Okay. Which is a fair response.
Yes.
You can sort of, like you said, when you run the numbers, like you can understand, like the Vikings. They rock up in their chainmail and they're like 1st to 3rd level fighters, and they're dealing with these 0 level men at arms or 0 level commoners and that.
Yeah.
And they're just going to run through these poor guys.
Yeah, you're an Irish fisherman. It's the year 800. The worst you've had to worry about are storms your whole life, and then here's some maniac wearing clothes made out of metal that the stick that you picked up can't do anything about. Maybe the tough guy in town has an old Roman sword that found its way up into that part of the world, but yeah, these guys are just loaded for bear and looking for trouble. Good evening to you, Christopher. Welcome. Glad you're here. But what was this? Was I going to mention about the fighting men? No, that wasn't it. Movie budgets. Hell, I don't know. We'll just press ahead. must not have been that important. So Kyle, I know you've been busy. Have you gotten a chance to get any gaming in at all in your busy time?
Yeah, so I've been doing a little bit of play testing of both a setting and a system. So a more kind of cinematic system than conflict, but both have been play tested in a little zombie setting, basically. Because one thing that's always dissatisfied me about zombie settings is they essentially just turn magical. So you have like corpses moving around and they require no sustenance. And even when it's supposedly not a magical thing, like, for example, in Last of Us, where there's a fungal infection, you have these dudes wandering around in a basement for 20 years with no sustenance or even water or whatever, and they're ready to jump out at you. And so I thought, how can I make it more kind of realistic and plausible? And, obeying the laws of physics and stuff. So I did that, and so I came up with basically an airborne rabies, and the airborne rabies, those who survive go mad and aggressive. So
Okay.
like 1 in 6 survive, and they become mad and aggressive. They're pretty vicious, and over time they develop into slightly different kinds of ghouls. Not really zombies, more like ghouls. They become slightly different ones. So some are solitary and just jump on you from a tree, and some hunt in packs, and so on. But they're not really redeemable. And just to avoid anything being too horrible, I said children appear to be immune to it, and they tend to, like the pack ones, will be more protective towards children, just like pack wolves are.
Right.
Not
right.
to human children, but yeah. So so I do that, and that's been play tested a little bit, both with conflict to make it sort of gritty and realistic and grim, and then with just a simple D6 kind of system to make it more cinematic. And that I was thinking of that earlier when you were talking about, like, somebody was basically saying the girls are less aggressive and the boys are more likely to fight, and that, and not necessarily with the people I've had play. I had one girl. There was a sort of a Negan type figure, like an evil guy in charge of a little stronghold and that, and he captured some of the PCs and had them manacled up, and he was already with a monologue to try to persuade them to join up, and he started in on his monologue, and she just leapt up with her manacles and strangled him to death before the guards could stop. Really, we are not so different, you and I. I want to look after my. So,
I actually, I don't know if it's.
She said, "I don't want to hear his shit."
I think I know who that was, possibly, but no, I am reminded of a story I read years ago. There, when the zombie apocalypse and pop culture thing kind of started to take off. And by the way, if you guys want to check out Conflict, there's the Drive Through RPG link and the Lulu link, as Kyle says, and I agree with him. I recommend the print version. Because it's always better to have a print book. We all have collections of PDF RPGs. Okay. We never use them. We never read them unless they're backups of stuff we have in print to use on computers. So get the print copy. It's linked in the chat.
Yeah. Like I've heard from people who bought Conflict, but I've only heard from the people who bought the print copy. I haven't heard anyone who bought the PDF one.
Oh, there you go. But yeah, so there was a collection, there was a fan fiction site of zombie apocalypse stories, and I gotta hand it to the people who created it. They kept it very on track. It was called Homepage of the Dead, and the guys who kept it on track, I mean, there was no, like, what if Dawn of the Dead happened and Harry Potter and Gandalf were there? No, they kept it in the stricture of the George Romero Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead. That was it. That was what they focused on spinoffs of. And I remember there was a story much like the one that you related, where a bad guy finds a wife and a child scavenging in a drugstore, and he holds them at gunpoint, and they kind of have this back and forth, and some implied stuff that isn't entirely to her consent goes on, and he's kind of having a moment, and heartfelt, sort of, you don't have to live out here like this. We've got we're building something. It's over by the such and such shopping center. You can come with me, and you can start a woman like you. I can claim you as my bond woman, and we have this and he's like basically world building to her as he's getting ready to sneak out of this building, and she reaches up and takes his sidearm and ends him right there. and then gathers up all of his stuff, gets the medicine and the food, and the kid is just kind of watching dispassionately, or just helping her, and just kind of looks at the guy dispassionately. And they head back to the house, and basically her mindset is, "Yeah, I've heard this BS like hundreds of times. I've got a husband at home who's taking care of our infant child. No, we're not. I'm not doing that. That's not how things are going to go. So you can lie here and rot, pal." you know. So, but yeah, he starts this cozy catastrophe description of this world that they built and everything after he's made her do things that are not to her liking or consent, and she pays him back with one to the spine when his back is turned. So, as you say, it's not always the girls who are willing to do the story building, heavy role play kind of stuff.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so this is a mod, if you will, for conflict, like an expansion for conflict that you're working on.
yeah, yeah. It's just a setting, basically, called hydrophobia at the moment until I come up with something better.
That makes sense. Hydrophobia. When
Well, because an interesting thing is that people suffering from rabies actually will have photophobia as well. They're scared of light. So
now
they
that I
mostly
didn't
come
know.
at night. They mostly come at night, mostly.
Okay. That tracks, but I did not know about the real world photophobia.
Yeah.
What's what's the rough ETA on it?
Oh, God, I don't have any plans for publication or anything like that at the moment.
Okay.
But I mean, I can chuck it out there, just on PDF or something. But I think there's enough stuff out there. I just made it for my own gaming and that of my friends, because, as I said, I was a bit dissatisfied with the settings that you usually see.
Well, I mean, I hell, I'll buy a copy. You know me, dude.
Yeah.
Well,
No, I was just going to tell you guys there's a movie on YouTube called Daylight's End, and that's a pretty good kind of zombie one. It's actually sort of somewhat realistic, so they're bloodthirsty freaks, of course, but yeah, it's called Daylight's End. It's a whole movie. It's free, and I'm just trying to get a good screen grab that really shows what it's like.
well, it's got Lance Henriksen in it, so that right there,
it's got Lance Henriksen, and it's got an actor called Johnny Strong.
I'm looking at
and this guy, the given, like, it's obvious, like, not a really big budget, but he's wandering through the wilderness. There's zombies. There's all that establishing sort of stuff. And he comes across these guys, and they're holed up in an old police station. A lot of them are all former cops. Lance Henriksen's a former cop, and that he must have survived the Terminator. Johnny Strong comes along, and he ends up helping them out because the place is being assaulted by absolute hordes of these things. So, and he helps them out. So it's a kind of a siege thing. Let's post a link. Yeah, it's a siege sort of thing, and so he fights off the siege, because the idea is, we fight off the siege, and then there's a place after that we can go where there's a plane, and we can fly off to some place that's supposedly super safe, and that. Yeah. But it's actually quite good. The gunplay is realistic. The guy was in Black Hawk Down.
Really? I haven't seen that. It has been a minute since I've seen Black Hawk Down. That's interesting. Best known for his roles in Black Hawk Down and The Fast and the Furious as Leon. Aside from acting, he's a lead vocalist of the band Operator. Interesting. Let me see. Black Hawk Down. Oh, he played Randy Shugart. Wow. Read up on it's a bit grim to go into here on the channel, guys. We like to keep things kind of light. So, but read up on Randy Shugart. I know the actor. I know who the actor is now, and I remember his scenes from the movie. But this sounds kind of like Dawn of the Dead meets Assault on Precinct 13. Have you ever seen that one, Kyle? Uh-oh, we lost Kyle. There you go.
I'm back. There was just some shenanigans happening.
Have you ever seen Assault on Precinct 13?
Yeah, it's basically that.
Yeah,
that's instead of crims, you've got like blood-sucking freaks.
Nice.
So it's actually quite good. The gunplay is quite realistic and sensible, and you know it's got Johnny Strong with a jawline that could cut glass. You know, you use his jaw to shave another guy's jaw. Because he's so.
I like that. Hey, Johnny, come here. I got to peel these potatoes.
Just look at that. Just look at that. Look at that jawline. That's just absolutely ridiculous.
That's a jawline you could set your clock by, folks.
Yeah. Daylight's End. Yeah, and so it's. I mean, it's serious. There's no you know, cheesy one-liners after blowing someone away and that. But yeah, it's a. I thought it was a really good movie.
I'll check it out. I mean, now. I try not to be too put off by box office because this made $11,257. Generally speaking, huh?
It deserved more. It definitely deserved more. Yeah.
Generally speaking, when you see a microscopic box office like that, it's because it got released in like 2 theaters just to meet some financing rules. Like they knew they were going to dump this onto Netflix or Amazon or Tubi or something like that. Unless your movie's like Jiggly, you know, that made like $25,000 and was supposed to be a blockbuster film. But $11,257 does not necessarily speak to the quality. This was going to be streamlined.
Well, I think too it I think too it's kind of niche in that there's not many people who like the, you know, zombies or magic or whatever, but who also like the realistic themed stuff.
Yeah.
You know, realistic themed post-apocalyptic. Most people are quite happy to have aliens coming down and have magical zombies shambling around or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's kind of niche in that regard, realistic themed post-apocalyptic. With, as I said, like realistic gunplay and that, and people, you know, get shot and they fall down and they die, and that's it.
Now, you had mentioned this before. You know, we've talked about meta arcs in certain things, like, you know, Two Soldiers in Twilight 2000, right? You know, you're in a swamp in north central Poland, and all you know is that, you know, the truck you're driving, you guys have got to pile branches on it and then go try and find a couple gallons of kerosene to get it running again, right? That's like the breadth and depth of your quote unquote politics at that in that particular moment. It's that's really all it should be. George Romero, people asked Romero, particularly towards the end of his life, as his movies got looked at closer and closer and zombie apocalypse stuff became more and more prominent. People were like, well, what was it? Was it a disease? Because there is a, it's almost a throwaway bit of news being watched on TV in Night of the Living Dead, where they talk about this space probe that had gone and orbited Venus and come back to Earth. And it had, instead of landing successfully, it had started breaking up in the atmosphere just over, you know, it was kind of tumbling and spinning out of control over the area of Pennsylvania where the first outbreak is. So they were like, oh, was it a disease? Was it radiation? Was it whatever? And he would always be very, and he said he was being deliberately vague. Like, that's not really the story. The point is not like this is a specific disease that does specific things that causes, you know, it incubates for this long and you get this sick and it has these symptoms. The the point is how these people cope with a horror. That's the
Yeah,
story. And
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not,
That's the
you know,
story. But
some people
I've sort of
shifted. God.
I've got a lot of sympathy for the old. I can't remember who said it. It was probably Asimov or someone like that. That like the definition of science fiction is basically you get one invention. How is that going to change everything? And you explore that. So you have your jump drive that can be made, hyperspace drive that can be made out of parts from Radio Shack. What happens? Well, apparently there's a whole series of that. It's basically rednecks in space. People, fix up their RV and they just tape up the corners, put duct tape on the corners so the oxygen doesn't escape, and they go and explore the universe. What? Because if you can make jump drives out of parts from Radio Shack, then people would.
Yeah.
The FAA probably wouldn't be terribly happy, but what could it do about it if you just go whoop, and you're gone? What are you going to do?
And it's you mentioned Asimov. I have a friend of mine who holds that the only science fiction movie, every other movie than this, to him is science fantasy, if it has the label sci-fi. That it's science fantasy. There's only, according to him, has only ever been one science fiction movie, and it is 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's like space acts like it should. There's no sound, yada yada yada, and he goes on about it. And I zinged him one night because he was insisting on this, because I thought, for what it was worth, that the movie Interstellar was very hard sci-fi, that it was a successor, if you will, a passing of the baton to a greater or lesser degree of 2001. And that like, he said, "Do you want to know what I thought of Interstellar, Bill?" And I was like, "Well, David, I think you're going to tell me whether I want to or not." He goes, "I fell asleep like 15 minutes in. That should tell you all you need to know about Interstellar." And I'm like, I saw
a lot of people feel that way about 2001. So
yeah, exactly. I know plenty of people who fell asleep during 2001, but no, so we were going back and forth, and I just kind of gigged him, and I think it genuinely upset him, because I said, okay, so 2001: A Space Odyssey. Realistic drive system. The Discovery fired its nuclear rockets when it was at Earth and then just cruised through the solar system. It didn't have to have them constantly burning. To have gravity, they had to have the hub in the center of the Discovery. To have so on, and he was like, yes, no sound in space, of course, the moon gravity, and just the orbital physics and everything like that. I said, so explain the space ghost that turned Dave Bowman into an old man and then a space baby and can fold space and time. What is the science, David? What is it? Tell me what that science is. Tell me about those scientific principles, because I'm sure Einstein in his notes had E equals MC space baby. He got rightly mad at me about that. That kind of pissed him off. But the point is,
so look, I don't mind. I don't mind things getting bent a bit.
Yeah.
But I do just like the principle. Okay, just change one thing, and then what happens? That could be done within a greater story as well. So, like in the Expanse series, the two technologies. One is the Epstein drive. So now that they can get between planets in days or weeks rather than months or years. And then that really accelerates the development of the solar system. And the other one is later on, there's a ring gate where they can jump to other worlds. Mm-hmm. And when they're able to jump to other worlds, everyone stops terraforming Mars. Because what's the point? Why are you going to bust your ass to wait another 500 years to be able to walk in the open air in Mars, when you could just jump through this gate and then walk on a planet there?
Yeah, exactly.
And all of it, and the belt gets basically abandoned, because all the people who were busy scratching a life by digging into some obscure asteroid now just go to another planet and dig there. They're still miners, but they're miners in the fresh air. instead of in a hard vacuum that's going to kill you. You know.
Yeah, yeah, and that's you know that's a perfect example. Hell, Interstellar has the one thing changes everything. It's the gravity equations. When
Mm.
Matthew McConaughey is able to send the gravity equations back to Earth, that changes everything. That is the point of change. That is Asimov's point of change. I just
And that's why I like sci-fi, like The Expanse or Aliens. You know, like in Aliens, they're still using machine guns. They don't have plasma blasters and stuff. Still
yeah.
using machine guns, nuclear weapons, and so on.
Well, the late great David Drake, who did I didn't say that just to have a rhyme. He was a very good pulp fantasy, or well, he did do some fantasy, but primarily known for his military sci-fi. But David Drake, um, the the main characters, the protagonists of his Hammer Slammers universe, the space mercenaries of the Hammer Armored Regiment. They were well equipped enough, they charged enough, and they could afford power guns. They were plasma guns. Their bullets were copper in a phase change state of plasma that flew at near speed of light, so it killed with velocity and heat. But he's got a whole chapter where he details the science of power guns, but he points out that like 90% of worlds in the entire Concordia space, people can't afford power guns. Power guns are prohibitively expensive. Even some governments can't afford what Hammer Slammers can field. And he wraps it up with this beautiful statement. In the distant future, the most effective way to kill someone is still a bullet. You know? I mean, Outland. What do they have in Outland? Shotguns, sawed-off shotguns. They're throwing buckshot at each other in Outland.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like grounded stuff like that. I mean, there's plenty of room for Star Wars and lightsabers that can deflect energy bolts and stuff.
Just like
that.
There's plenty of room for Rambo and Predator and stuff. You know, a guy carrying a minigun.
Yeah, everything doesn't have to be Black Hawk Down, but it's nice that some things are.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I think like Daylight's End, that sort of movie wouldn't get as much of the attention as really it deserves for its, given its production values and the quality of acting and so on. And the music wasn't bad too. They probably just used stock music from somewhere. But anyway, oh no, the music was composed by Johnny Strong.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
I mean, that tracks. It said he was in a band.
I think it was a producer, so I think it was just some pet project of his. But anyway, he just grabbed Lance Henriksen in a bar one night and, come and be in my movie.
Like bumped into him at Comic-Con. Holy shit, you're Lance Henriksen. Yeah.
But he
come be in my movie. Okay. I don't have better
so
to do
I think
this weekend.
That sort of grounded thing, that grounded kind of like it's science fiction, but it's quite grounded. I think there's only a certain audience for it. I think gamers are disproportionately part of that audience. Because you look at it and you go, that's a game scenario. That's Assault on Precinct 13. That's half a dozen adventure modules that people have run over the years. That's the Magnificent Seven or whatever. There's baddies coming. You're holed up in a place and there's baddies coming and you have to fight them off. That's the plot of many, many stories, including at the game table.
Yeah, and that's I think. A perfect example of that, the difference between making a movie for gamers and making a movie for a general audience, is the new Dungeons and Dragons movie. There's a lot of eye candy on display that gamers will go, yeah, that's a gelatinous cube, that's in D&D, and there's a displacer beast, those are in D&D. There's an owl bear, that person said they're a druid, they're going to this noted place. But the thing about it is, if you made a movie where the first thing the biggest, strongest fighter did was turn around and say, okay, we're going to line up 3 of us across. Right behind us, we want the guys with the spears and the bows. Behind them, the magic users should be, and then there should be bearers and porters behind them, and we're going to march down this hall this way. If you basically took a scene of marching order out, Kyle and I would like that, and I'm sure some of you guys watching the channel would like that. And I think by and large, the Saturday matinee popcorn crowd would be like, why do they waste time on this? Who is that for? I want to see glowing swords and mimics making funny jokes.
Well, it's the same as the historical movies, your Alexander and your Rome and all the rest. And the historical guys go, that's not the way it worked. You didn't charge in and have 50 different duels. It was shield to shield. But people that aren't that interested in seeing like 2 walls of shields coming up and crashing against each other and then pushing against each other until enough of one of them on one side gets stabbed that somebody panics and runs off and the shield wall crumbles, and then they run and the others chase them and murder them from behind as they're chasing them down, which is the sort of thing that horribly often happen. But people don't want to see that. They want to see the dramatic, the Achilles doing his dramatic fights, and doing backflips in combat and stuff.
I think probably the closest we got to the way it worked was I don't know. Did you see? Oh, I know for a fact you saw HBO's Rome.
Yeah. The opening scene. They're changing around and everything.
Yeah, and
that was very well thought out. Yeah, it was very well thought out. And Titus Pullo comes out of the shield wall and just because he's drunk, so he's doing his Achilles thing.
Running. And Varenus has to go out there and
and they have to go out and rescue him because he's going to get himself killed.
Right. Well, they did that. They did that fairly effectively with Gladiator, the proper Gladiator. They had a very similar historical looking approach to it, and I was quite happy to see that.
And I understand. It's like I've seen fight choreographers talking about this, whether it be fist fight or melee fight or whatever, and they said basically, in the reality that they're often quite close together when they're going at each other, but that doesn't look very good on screen. People want to see the big sweeping punches and roundhouse kicks and all that sort of stuff. So they said they kind of make it more open to be more dramatic. So I'm good with that. I don't mind that. It's just the general tone can be realistic and grounded, while still having a bit of that sort of drama going on. I don't like it personally when it goes all the way to, it's obviously choreographed. Here is where I punch the guy in the head and he falls down, and then next I elbow this guy in the nose and he falls down, and then I bend him over my knee and I break his back and everything. Where it's obviously like it's a dance.
Yeah.
They're doing the tango with fists.
Well, I think it comes down to what you're hungry for, right? It's Saturday afternoon. You and the fam have gone to the mall. The kids are the kids are bouncing with energy. You don't go to like a 4-course sit down restaurant, napkins on lap. That's it. You swing through Macca's. You hand out boxes of chicken nuggets and that sort of. Well, maybe I do. I'm a fat guy, so you kind of.
We've done it. We've done it. We've all done it.
We've all done it. So but then there are times when it's like, okay, we're going to sit down, we're going to have a fancy dinner, and it's the same with film. Sometimes you just want brain candy, you want brain junk food, and and fortunately, there's plenty of that for the world. So.
Yeah, but the stuff that's more grounded, it's rarer, so I guess I appreciate it more. It's kind of rare.
Yeah.
Sure. That's the grounded stuff. It's not what the majority want, and even the minority who want it only want it occasionally. That's why this is sold, but it's not exactly a bestseller. I haven't sold 1 million copies or whatever. So, it has an appeal to a certain segment. But
Well,
I mean, the thing
release
is,
the zombie supplement, and you might have a platinum seller over on drive through.
probably not. But it appeals to a certain number of people, and it's the same as my work or my love life. I mean, look at me, I'm ugly, but one woman appreciates me. That's all I need. My wife likes me, so that's all right. And this gym, I only need a couple of dozen people, and I'm absolutely chockers and busy with work and everything. So it doesn't have to appeal to everyone. And it's the same with your game. Your game group might be the only game group in the world that's playing that post-apocalyptic setting with a raccoon with a bazooka. But your guys enjoy it, so all good.
Exactly so. And one day, before I shuffle off this mortal coil, I will get a copy of Realm of Yolmi and find some people who will play it with me. Realm of Yolmi, you will be mine someday. But oh my goodness. We're for those of you who may not know, and I know a lot of you guys are new subscribers, Kyle runs a pretty good game for us here on Wednesday nights. Whether he's watching us literally be a danger to ourselves and others in a game of Traveler, whether we're getting caught up in international shenanigans and conflict, or going for fortune and glory in his D&D game, guys, it is fantastic. It is just as good as the stuff I do on Tuesday or Fridays, so you should absolutely tune in for that. We've got that starting up again in a couple of weeks, which leads me, Kyle,
weeks, yeah.
Will you be with us next week?
No, definitely not next week.
All right,
because the family's traveling off
on your next return, which I assumed. I just wanted to make sure. So on your return, we will be playing. We just going to pick up the AD&D game.
Well, we'll talk to the players and see if they're all still available, and if so, yeah.
We have a good group.
Because we left on the cliffhanger with you guys seeing the white dragon circling the peak in the distance.
Yes. Deciding whether or not we wanted to, potentially get wrapped up in the affairs of dragons, but we'll see how that comes out. So, we'll talk to the group. Is your bounty, is your admonition for people who want to join the group still out there, Kyle? Does that still hold?
Yeah, they got to be channel members.
Yes, you need to be a channel member or a member over on Patreon, which I have not had the link up all night. So even if it's only $1 over on Patreon, $1 a month, or $1.99, I'm sorry, that's as low as I can set it on YouTube. If you're like, I just want to do everything on YouTube, $1.99 is as cheap as I can make it on YouTube. I apologize. But if you want to do that, and then reach out to us on the Discord, you may you may talk to Kyle about joining the fun on Wednesday nights when he's able to run. Anything else, Kyle? Have we solved all the nerd problems for the evening?
We'll never solve all the nerd problems, but
sadly no.
No, I don't have anything else to say except that I want to go for lunch now.
Kyle,
lunch break.
I'm sorry the pistachios and the Hennessy weren't enough for you back there in the green room. So go get yourself something healthy to eat. I'm going to say goodbye to these lunatics. Thank you. It was a pleasure to see you again, my friend. And we'll see you in a fortnight. Have a good one. All right, boys and girls, that was my Australian co-host, Kyle. And I mean it. If you subscribe or become a member here on YouTube, or you become a Patreon, or maybe you already are, and you can get free from 8 p.m. till about 9:30, 9:45-ish on Eastern Time, Wednesday nights here in the United States. If you'd like to be a part of that madness, just let me know, and I'll do my level best to get you the info. One thing I wanted to say in parting, and I actually meant to open the show with this, for those of you who know, I did see a missive from Mrs. rather, I should say Mrs. Elvin made in. She posted up on Twitter, said she was feeling better and she would be back real soon. So that warmed the cockles of my heart. So to the rest of you guys, thank you all very much for being here tonight. It was lovely to see you all. Again, no live stream tomorrow night. Sorry, you guys will just have to do without me for an evening, as it is the old wedding anniversary, and I'm looking forward to it. So thank you all. Thank you very much for tuning in. And it may not happen in Kyle's game, or it may happen in Kyle's game. But one thing I can assure you of, if you guys aren't careful, you will have to deal with the owl bear. Peace. Good night. God bless. Love you all.
Have you seen my owl bear? Here's to all the weirdos everywhere, in the woods and in the air. Have you seen my owl bear? Should I shave off all my hair? Bobs are all around, some live in tunnels underground. Some are fat, some are rich, some are sleeping in a ditch. Can you ride a crooked horse without a saddle, way off course? Naked as a toad, all the way to Smoky Joe's. Have you seen the little creep driving fast in his little green Jeep? He smells like fish and brandy, but his rotten teeth look dandy. Take me to the show, I don't care if fast or slow. From action flicks to dancing dicks, just